Are you struggling to make sense of digital marketing? Or maybe you're wondering how to leverage social media to boost your brand visibility and lead conversions? Then stay tuned for my conversation with marketing consultant Ayo Abbas in this episode of Architecture Business Club, the weekly podcast for solo and small firm architecture practice owners just like you who want to build a profitable, future-proof architecture business that fits around their life. I'm the host, John Clayton, and if you want a business in architecture that gives you more freedom, flexibility and fulfillment, then go to architecturebusinessclub.com/blueprint and download the Architecture Business Blueprint. It's the step-by-step formula to freedom for architects, architectural technologists and architectural designers, and it's absolutely free as a gift from me. Now let's discuss digital marketing. Ayo Abbas is an award-winning built environment marketing consultant. She has 23 years experience working across the real estate and construction sector for major firms. Ayo founded her own consultancy business, Abbas Marketing, offering B2B marketing strategy and content creation services. And Ayo was named as the overall winner for the Digital Woman of the Year Awards in 2022. She also hosts her own podcast, the Built Environment Marketing Show, that shines a spotlight on marketing best practice. And in 2023, I was honoured to be an RIBA London Awards judge and named as an architectural trailblazer by Architizer Magazine. Welcome to Architecture Business Club.
Hiya, John. How you doing? You all right?
I'm really well. It's great to have you here.
It's great. I was listening to episodes this morning. I was like, oh yeah, I know this person.
Oh, that's right. And also we've just been talking about the episode on your podcast on the Built Environment Marketing Show. This is a collaboration together, isn't it? Where we've put episodes out published on the same day. So if anyone who is listening to this episode, and if you enjoy what you hear, want to hear more from me and Ayo having a great engaged conversation to help you guys out, then go ahead and go and subscribe to the Built Environment Marketing Show and go and listen to that episode too.
Yeah, so it's like a two-parter, isn't it? But done across our two podcasts, which is a concept I'd heard of, and I thought, that's a really good way of doing it. So yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad you suggested it because it's just gives us some time to have a conversation together and get to know each other a bit better. So, Ayo, I'd love to know, I see a lot of what you do in your business. I'd love to know what you do in your free time. What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
I actually love to cook. So even when I was working in the house and stuff, I used to come back after a busy day and I would quite happily stop off at the supermarket on the way home and then just dream up something. So I am one of those people there where my friends, because I'm not always great at inviting people over, admittedly, but my friends would actually invite themselves over for dinner. So buying ingredients and then doing slow cooking stuff. And to be honest, I can make most food apart from Nigerian food because growing up, I figured out if I learned how to make Nigerian food, I'd always have to cook at home for my family and my brothers because I was the youngest and I was the only girl. So yeah, that's the one type of food I can't do. Everything else, pretty good.
Is that more won't do rather than can't do?
I've never learned. So actually, there's loads of stuff my brothers can cook that I can't. When it comes to Nigerian food, and actually my mum's passed away, so I can't even get the recipes of her. But so I do actually go to members of my family's house if I want Nigerian food.
Oh, that's nice. It sounds like you have a full house with your friends just inviting themselves over. I mean, that must speak volume about the quality of your cooking.
That's what they used to do. They used to be like, "Can we come over?" Huh? But no, it is. I do love to cook, and now if I feel like cooking, I'll just make something and have it over a couple of nights. It's all very nice. But yeah,
we're going to have to move on from this topic because I'm starting to get hungry now. We're going to talk about digital marketing, so that solo and small architecture firm owners can understand what opportunities digital marketing offers and how they can take advantage of it. So I think a sensible place to start would be with the basics. So what is digital marketing?
So I love these questions, which I like the basic questions, but I was like, let's Google. What does Google say? So HubSpot, who are a huge kind of CRM provider in terms of marketing. So their definition is digital marketing, which is also known as online marketing, refers to all marketing efforts that occur on the internet, which actually I think is a lovely way of thinking about it and quite simple. And so the types of channels you'll be talking about and using would be things like search engines, so Google, Bing, whatever you're using, social media, so that could be Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, who knows, email, which I don't think we use as much as we should in our industry for marketing. And of course, our websites, which kind of connect it all together. So that whole, I like to use kind of like ecosystem, so that whole digital ecosystem, which all kind of feeds off each other. So I think how you kind of use that and use that to your advantage. That's the main thing for me.
So if we ever hear any consultants or the business owners talk about digital marketing strategy, that encompasses everything that we could be doing in the online world to market our business and market our services.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that especially with COVID, I think it's shown people what's possible. And I guess before it was always in the built environment, people were always like, oh, it's got to be face to face. We've got to go and see that person to win that piece of work. It's like, actually, do you know what? Do you really? Is this the best use of your time? And actually, there's a lot you can do in digital that can kind of fast track you to that sale. And I think that's where we are behind many other sectors, if I'm being honest. And that's where the opportunity lies. And using that to propel what you do in person. That to me is like the sweet spot for us and the opportunity.
I love the way that you've described that it sounds like there's an opportunity to leverage some of the more traditional methods of how we interact with our customers and prospects, and that you could use digital marketing to leverage your time on those sort of traditional in-person meetings and things. And they can work together, can't they? They can integrate as part of an overall strategy.
And I think that's the key. They integrate together. And I think, for me now, over COVID, I really got into LinkedIn heavily and doing loads of stuff online. And now when I walk into events, I do get people come up to me and go, either they know my voice or they know who I am, and they will start that conversation. And it just fast tracks you. It fast tracks relationships. And I think you don't underestimate the power of that. Imagine how much easier and how much more comfortable you would feel as a person walking into a room that actually people know who you are or know what you're about already. It's a much easier sell.
Oh, that is so true. I had that experience recently at the Atomicon conference where we met in person. That it's not even an industry specific conference; it's just small business owners. But I had that there was a lot of people that had listened to my podcast. I didn't realise some of the people, like, they'd seen me on LinkedIn or they'd listened to the show and they knew me and they were like, "Oh, John, it's great to meet you." And I'm thinking, have we met before?
Or they quote the stuff back to you and you're like looking at them going, huh? When did I say that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm often doing. I'm like, oh, did I say that? Oh, how's your son? I'm like, huh? But
okay. Yeah, it's a little bit, can be a little bit unnerving. You think, you're not some kind of like stalker or something, are you? It's not going to start going a bit kind of psycho or anything. But particularly if you are somebody that's more introverted, like, to walk into a room and to have people that already are familiar with you, it just really helps break the ice. So your digital marketing efforts can help with the in-person stuff as well, can't they?
I think that's the bit that we haven't as an industry cottoned onto that well yet. And I think if you start to do that, so your digital presence boosts your in-person presence, the two of them working together it's just going to compound.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the common myths and misconceptions. I'm sure there's a few. What springs to mind?
I think the first one was that you need loads of budget. I think there's a lot of opportunities now in terms of digital that, email is relatively low cost. You've got free email providers in terms of packages, or you could, low cost ones like MailerLite and things like that, where you can easily start to develop a mailing list and start mailing people on a regular basis. And that doesn't have to cost you a whole ton of money. So I think that, it's very, very cost effective, and there's lots of different ways that you can target people. So budget, you don't need a huge amount, and you can compete, dare I say it, with the big boys. You can compete with larger firms and still get that reach and that breadth. So yeah, I think budget is one thing that you need to have tons of money to market your business. Digital has really helped to level that playing field.
That's really cool. So if anyone out there's thinking you need a ton of money and you're going to be having to throw hundreds of pounds a month at Facebook advertising or something like that's just not true. There is an opportunity for people to get started and to leverage their digital presence without having to spend a ton of money on it, or any money potentially, if they've got the time.
Depending what it is, exactly. And is that time? Is it your time, or do you throw money at it? That equilibrium that you can have, and I think that's it. I mean, it might be that, you know, like you could do, like we said when I interviewed you, and you talked about you had a course that showed you how to do something. You can get someone to do a simple course on Facebook ads, then do them yourself, or get someone to set them up for you, then you run them. So there's always those things that you can do to kind of make it easier to do, but it doesn't have to be a ridiculous amount of money, I think. So yeah, budget was definitely one.
Cool. We've talked a little bit about some ideas there about how small practices and architects could utilize digital marketing. So what opportunities does it offer the average sole practitioner architect or small architecture practice? What are the different opportunities available to us with digital marketing?
So aside from the one I said earlier about it's your chance to get more visibility and you can get yourself seen, I think for me, one of the big opportunities for social media is just and digital is it's harder and harder to get visibility. And I think an opportunity actually is to actually pay to get some. I don't think there's any free platforms anymore. That if you look at it, Instagram reach has gone down. If you look at it, LinkedIn, their reach is starting to drop off. They're all businesses and they're all out to make money. So I think it's using digital marketing, looking at the platforms, looking at where you can invest small amounts to really kind of boost your brand awareness. And I'm going to say brand awareness rather than just leads, because I think everyone's like, oh, it's just about leads. It's like, actually, the best way to advertise is actually to raise your brand awareness. So people understand that you're there. They know, they trust you, like we said about doing digital. And then you switch to lead conversions, getting leads and generating leads. Because once people know who you are, then they're more open and receptive to what you have to say. So for me, it's that kind of opportunity of where can I use small amounts of paid to boost what I'm doing. I think that's a huge opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if we've got a small amount of money to work with, if we spend it in the right areas, then there's a lot that we can do to help boost our brand's visibility. And ultimately, we're not running charities, we are running businesses. Eventually, we're wanting the leads. But if people don't know who we are, then they're not going to buy from us. So
no. And that will mean your leads will cost more because people are less likely to convert. So actually, if you look at it, investing in some brand awareness, then switching to leads, it means your actual overall conversions and lead costs will actually go down. So it's all of kind of that kind of stuff, which it probably is worth talking to someone who specializes in ads just to kind of understand the theory behind it, because it's not something that I specialize in, and I respect people that do. But I think it's just that thing of just knowing how to get the best value from your investment.
Well, while we're on the subject of investment, do you have any thoughts on how much that small business owners should be putting towards their marketing? If they are going to spend some money, is there do you have any guidelines in terms of a percentage of revenue? Is there a sweet spot, do you think?
Do you know what? I think you tie that back to your strategy, right? If you're looking, and it is that equilibrium, how much you want to do yourself and how much you want to pay for, how fast you want to get there. And I think it's looking at those questions and then thinking, actually, what's my priority and my goal? And, you know, if I need to get there next week, then actually I'll probably just pay someone to do that for me because it will get me there quicker. Or, you know, like, so that's what I think you kind of need to think of. And also I think it's being, you know, do a few things, do them well, and focus your efforts and your money and your resources. But, you know, for example, if you've completed a project in, I don't know, Brockley in Southwest London, say a resi project, and then you might turn around and go, actually, I want to talk about this project. We just had photos done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to target residential owners in that area and spend 200 quid on Instagram. And that could lead to some leads. So I think it's more about you thinking about what assets you have and what you need to push and what goals you need for that, and then investing. And I think at times that might be quite high, at times it might be quite low. And I think, you know, you will have peaks and troughs, but percentage wise, I don't know. It depends. I think it depends is my answer.
It's okay. It depends is fine. I thought that might be the case, but I thought I would ask anyway. I thought it's an interesting point there you just made about how targeted you can be with digital, because that's a point worth mentioning, that particularly with things like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, any of those social platforms, you can be so specific with where you target, who sees those ads in what locations. It's almost like Big Brother type scary when you understand how it can work.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, Instagram's on a kind of a slightly kind of weird legal voyage at the moment. So anytime you go into the platform, the business campaign manager that you do ads via is changing all the time. And they are looking down more stuff. So it's not quite as, you can't go as hyper-focused as you want. But if you had more budget and you were going for commercial, I would say LinkedIn is worth looking at, because you can like types of company, job titles, location, size of company, and you can sort of sit there and build out your ideal target audience and go, this is for this specific audience, or I'm running a webinar and I know I want to speak to these commercial directors based in London South East who do this, and you can do that. So I think the world's your oyster, more on LinkedIn now than Facebook in a way, though.
Oh, interesting. LinkedIn's my favourite social platform as well at the moment, so maybe I should have a look at that too.
Yeah, no, but it is LinkedIn ads, and they've also done thought leadership ads now. So you can, I'm not an ads person. I don't know why I keep talking about ads, but you can do thought leadership ads. So you can actually boost a person's post as well. Not boost it. It's not boost. It's like it can actually advertise. So yeah, not just for
cool.
the company. Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, I like that. How we talked a little bit about strategy there. How important is it to have a digital marketing strategy?
I think I would say it's important to have an overall marketing strategy. So the digital will fall into that in terms of channels. You might, for example, if you're doing a lot on LinkedIn or a certain platform, you may go on and do a couple of pages on that specific platform as to what you're going to do. But I think having an overall, what's my goals I'm trying to reach, what business I'm trying to reach, who do I need to connect with, who my partner with, what projects I've got coming up, all of that stuff. I think for me, I think doing a plan is more about it makes you take stock. So going through the process is a good thing, even if you don't look at it all the time, but it makes you take stock and just think about that stuff. And I think for me as a business owner, I think that's really useful just to know, right, am I on the right track? Actually, am I following what I need? But it also gives you those guardrails as well. So when something crops up and you go, actually, is this helping me to get where I need to be, or is it taking you to where you need to be? So it gives you that sense check as well. So I do think setting a plan is useful to have those big picture kind of, a reason to look at what you're doing.
Yeah, I think definitely it's worthwhile doing it. You mentioned there about this, like from a personal point of view, that the exercise of just, if you're going to do it yourself, the exercise of just doing the brainstorming and writing it all down, you can do it yourself, or you can obviously employ somebody else to help you with it. But either way, that process of just doing that brainstorming and thinking about where it is you're trying to get to with your business, who you're looking to connect with, how you're going to do it, and actually having some kind of strategy behind it rather than running around like a headless chicken when it comes to your marketing and doing things in a reactive way just because it's what maybe other businesses or other people are doing. Just because they're doing something, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the right thing for you and your business. I always think that we can often compare ourselves and our businesses to others, to like competitors or other people we see, and they're just not the same as you. They might have a much bigger budget than you've got to work with. If you're a startup or a small business owner, a business of one, you're not going to be able to do the same campaign that one of the big boys is doing. No, and actually you might find a more nimble way of doing it, or a way that works for your business, or you know what I mean? So I think you've got to look at yourself rather than looking at others, definitely, and do that in a kind of retrospection. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So could you run through some of the digital marketing platforms and options that are available to us? Remember, don't forget to download the Architecture Business Blueprint, the step-by-step formula to freedom for architects, architectural technologists and architectural designers. You can grab the blueprint without any charge at architecturebusinessclub.com/blueprint. And if you're enjoying this episode, then please leave a 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Now back to the show. So I guess we've already talked a bit about Instagram, kind of LinkedIn. I think they are massive platforms. So if you are a sole practitioner, you don't have to be everywhere. And I think that's the key thing, is you can kind of turn around and go,
actually, I really love LinkedIn. It's where commercial developers are. That's what I'm going to focus on. And I think when you look at a platform like LinkedIn, there's so much you can do, from the direct messaging to, using it for search. That's such a great way to use LinkedIn, which people don't use it. Before you go to a meeting, actually just Google, look at that person on LinkedIn, see where they've been, see who they know, like, what are they into? What did they last post? Great stuff. So when you go and meet them and you're like, hi, how's your son, or whatever happened here? Or how was that charity do you were at? So you can kind of have those conversations. So then you've also got all the other features like LinkedIn Lives, LinkedIn Live Audio, LinkedIn Video. You've got newsletters on there, which is relatively new, really, really impactful. You can grow a good following on there very, very quickly. So there's so many different, you could literally just go, we're going to go in deep, we're going to go in on LinkedIn, and just, that's your focus of your efforts if you want. Obviously, stuff like Instagram works really well for architects because it's very visual. Again, there's so many different elements of Instagram. There's also things like Pinterest as well as another area in terms of socials that would work well. I'm not a fan of X, I have to admit. I gave up when Mr. Musk came along. Threads, I'm on, but I don't completely understand. Are you on it?
I'm not, no. I've heard of it. I'm aware of it, but I haven't delved into it.
As a marketer, I kind of delve into all platforms because I think that I should. But yeah, Threads is one I haven't completely got my head around. So we'll see. But it's good just to try new things, which is what I enjoy doing. So social's definitely there. There's a lot. There's also things like search engine SEO, search engines. So that's very much about getting your website found on Google, basically. That's what search engine optimization is all about. So that's everything from what you post on your website, how you tag stuff, the topics you talk about, and all of that kind of stuff, and posting regular content. That's the kind of basics of SEO. So that's very much about telling Google what your content is and what your website's about. That's how it works. I think that's quite a simple way of talking about it. And you've got your own website as well, which you can have your kind of main about page, homepage, service pages. But I think the area that I don't think we explore enough as an industry is things like landing pages and doing dedicated campaigns on particular things. So it might be that, you run an ad and you run it on, community housing or something, and you have a page that's dedicated just to that topic for those people. And then you can track that and use that as a dedicated landing page so you can see how your spend goes, for example.
So a landing page, just in case people aren't familiar with that term, that's basically just like a single web page that's just dedicated to one specific thing?
Yeah, it's basically you would build a standalone web page on your website, which would be on that particular topic. So the idea is that you would run an ad or a campaign that would land on that page only, and then you can track the traffic to it. It's a way of just like, and then there'll be some kind of conversion or something like do a download or sign up here or buy this. So it's just a way of, I guess, being more direct with your sales. That's what it is, isn't it? So you can have that as a kind of sales mechanism or book a call or something like that. But it could just be something that you run a campaign for a limited time and you send traffic there so you can measure it. That's it.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So we covered all the main sort of social media platforms you mentioned. There's our website. That's another thing that we've got. Yeah. Another opportunity for us. Trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't covered. Email is the other one, I think. Yeah. Email, definitely, which I don't think that many practices do as much. I mean, I guess if people do anything, they do the more traditional, the email newsletter style emails, which, I mean, sometimes they can be quite hard to do, and that might put you off doing them because they're too much of a faff. So, I mean, it's interesting. There's been a whole trend towards doing more simple emails and more kind of just word only, so, text only based emails as well. So that is, that's definitely an option. What about other opportunities in the digital landscape? Things like, things like video content, YouTube, things like that would fall under. You know what? I think that's the thing is like there are some people who do really well in terms of video and like reels and stuff on Instagram, aren't there? YouTube is the second biggest search engine there is out there. And there is a home for architecture content on there. And I think if you're a residential architect, there's no reason that you can't talk about the process. What if you're a homeowner, what to expect when you speak to an architect? All of that stuff, which we could
do it in a really fun, engaging way. And I think, YouTube is ripe for that. And I think that's an opportunity. Podcasts like we're doing, that's another opportunity for architects. Again, it's about sharing who you are, your process and what you're doing. And I think the other thing, because you and I, we both kind of operate in that, kind of more in that, on the consultancy side, and we work with coaches and things like that. And they always do webinars. We don't do them that much. And I think webinars are relatively, again, another cheap way to market yourself, but there's no reason, again, that you can't do webinars that target homeowners and talk you through the planning process. There's a new Labour government. What will planning mean for that? All of that. What do you need to know if you want to extend your house? And I think there's lots of those opportunities now. And actually, with tools like we're using to record this, StreamYard, you can get a really good, just need a decent camera, some lighting, which I haven't got at the moment. But if you, that's why I'm so great. But if you use that, you can get a really good, high quality, good product, which will compete with large firms. And I think that's the thing. Digital is such an enabler, because small companies can compete with large ones and still have a really good, high quality product. And I think that, to me, is don't limit yourself because you're small. I think that's the thing.
Oh, that's such a great point. I think that the other thing that's an advantage for the smaller businesses is that if you can show up online authentically, consistently as well, ideally, but particularly in the architecture industry, not a lot of people do that. So even if you are showing up and showing your face now and then, or if you're doing the occasional video, if you're brave enough to do that, then you're already streets ahead of 95% of the rest of the industry, because the rest of the industry is still just posting case studies and photos of their portfolio and their finished projects, and only that, with no personality, no authenticity. So there's a huge opportunity for you to be more visible and to leverage your presence. And we've already mentioned how all these digital things can integrate with the in-person stuff that you do as well. So huge opportunity.
If you want to get started on that, I think I often say to people, it's the common questions, the ones that those clients always ask you at the start. What are those things that people are always asking you? How much is it going to cost? What's the process for planning? All of those basics are what would make great content, especially if you're looking at that residential market.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's not enough of that, because you probably heard of it. I'm not sure all the listeners have, but there's a great book by Marcus Sheridan called They Ask You Answer. And it's a very simple content marketing strategy. The clue's in the name. It's like you create content that answers people's questions, and it's the stuff that they really want to know about. And you could put together an entire content marketing campaign just based off what's in that book. Go and buy it if you haven't got it already, listeners.
I've got my bookcase. It's got quite a few books in it. I don't read them.
I'm a total book nerd, so I love any.
Are you really?
Like yeah.
I'm an audio nerd. I don't know what it is. I buy books because I like buying them. I mean, I probably don't read them, but I listen to audio all the time.
Hey, whatever works is fine. Ayo, was there any other tactics that you wanted to share? We've talked about quite a few ideas already, but was there anything else, any other tactics you wanted to mention that are worth considering?
I think I've probably shared most of the stuff. I do think that there is, I think it's a lot of what I say is it's the medium you choose is probably the ones that work best for you in a way. So if you're really into speaking, then the podcast way might be the way for you. If you're really into writing, then creating guides or some kind of booklet that you then promote out to clients in the industry, then that could be a better way for you. So I think it's a lot of my kind of thing is about finding what works for you and your audience and then doing that, because that will just make you a lot more consistent. But in terms of examples of things like creating guides, having webinars that target clients on certain topics, I think that's the way forward. And I'm really into campaign-based stuff. You've got an asset that you've created, and then how many different ways can you repurpose it and share about it and talk about it, and finding that, because I think you always kind of think that people are only seeing your stuff, but they're not. We're all bombarded with messages every day. So it's much more about how do I kind of get the word out there? And it's generally, you have to talk about it quite a lot, and a lot more than you would actually think. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, not every one of your followers or your audience is seeing what you're posting or putting out there.
No.
Yeah, so you've got to do it a lot a lot more than perhaps feels comfortable to most of us.
Yeah, definitely. And get used to it. Get used to it.
Yeah, it gets easier, doesn't it? What would be your top recommendation for us to get more out of digital marketing?
Read up on something and then actually just give it a try. I think you've got to give it a try and just try. I mean, a lot of them are low cost, a lot of ways. So you can kind of try the free trial, 14 days, and you can really just try out different tools. So I think that's it. Get a plan together, give it a go.
Yeah, that's good advice. It's very much that sort of test and measure approach that don't just spend months thinking about it. Actually take action, do it, and then just review how it's gone and then decide whether you're going to do it again. And if you are, how can you improve it the next time?
Exactly. I mean, like with my podcast last week for its fourth birthday, I wanted to get different people on the show, like giving tips. And I tried out a new piece of software called, completely forgot what it's called. Can't remember what it's called, but I'll share it afterwards. But basically you can leave messages and you can literally just use your phone, leave a message, and then it gives me the messages and I can download it and turn it into a podcast. But it was like a 14-day free trial. So that was great. It didn't cost me anything, which I will cancel. But it is that thing of you can try out new tools and see how they work and get an idea. So definitely worth doing that. Oh,
that's cool. Oh, thanks, Ayo. That's been really helpful. Was there anything else you wanted to add that we haven't covered already about digital marketing?
No, I think I've kind of raised it all about brand awareness and about boosting what you do in person. And that's the missing link, I think, for built environment firms. But yeah, I think I've gone through it.
Awesome. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you, and it's nothing to do with digital marketing. It's a regular question that I like to ask the guests on the show. I love to travel and discover new places. So I just wondered if you could share one of your favourite places and what you love about it.
Do you know what? I wrote this and then I listened to one of your episodes where Brian McCarthy was talking about this beautiful place in Italy. And I suddenly like, I've just written Kew Gardens. So it was very local. I was like, maybe I'm not that ambitious. But no, I put Kew Gardens because I think it's a lovely place. When I know when I was on mat leave with my son, that was a place I would love to go and just wander around and look at plants. So yeah, it was really nice. And also they do that great Christmas show, end of year light show, which I really do love and I've been going to for years. So yeah, I put Kew Gardens rather than somewhere exotic and beautiful. But next time, ask me that next year.
You know what? It's interesting. A lot of the guests do choose somewhere very local. Like there's been some of the guests that are like, "Oh, my favourite place is this little coffee shop at our local park, like the end of the road." You know.
And then I thought, am I being really small after I listened to Brian this morning? I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're not all of them are as exotic as Brian's favourite place, which I'm sure is also
very. About the wine and all this. I was like, actually, that sounds really nice.
I know. Afterwards, again, it's talking about food again. You know, he got talking about cheese and wine, and I was like, Brian, just stop it. Like, I need to go and eat cheese and drink wine now. So
flight to Italy. That's it. We're gone. That's what we're doing after this. But yeah.
Oh, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for organising this collaboration. Remember that for anyone listening, there's another episode, partnering episode. I'm on the Built Environment Marketing Show. It's been released the same time as this episode. Go and listen to it. Ayo asked me all sorts of interesting questions about my career journey so far and about starting out and everything in between. But Ayo, where is the best place for people to connect with you online?
The best place to find me is actually on LinkedIn. I'm always there. So you spell my name Ayo, last name is Abbas. And also I do have a podcast, which is on my website. It's called The Built Environment Marketing Show, and you can access it there or in Spotify or Apple as well.
Awesome. So can you remind people of your website address as well, please?
Sure. It is www.abbasmarketing.com, which is Abbas.
Perfect. I'll make sure that I put a link to your LinkedIn on your website. I'll make sure that goes in the show notes so that people can reach out and connect with you. All right.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ayo. Next time, I'll be chatting with Tom Lewis about the closure of TDO and the launch of his new practice, New Works. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Architecture Business Club. If you liked this episode, think other people might enjoy it, or just want to show your support for the show, then please leave a glowing 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean so much to me and makes it easier for new listeners to discover the show. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. If you want to connect with me, you can do that on most social media platforms. Just search for @Mr. John Clayton. The best place to connect with me online, though, is on LinkedIn. You can find a link to my profile in the show notes. Remember, running your architecture business doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need to do it alone. This is Architecture Business Club.